Amex Gold card is one of the most popular mid-tier travel cards in the credit card game that we love to talk about. We love to sing its praises, and it is commonly referred to as the workhorse in most people's wallets. However, I'd argue that the Gold card is beginning to lose a bit of its pizzazz and a little bit of its aspirational quality, and that's due to American Express implementing changes to ensure that its popular credit card and charge card products aren't as appealing to those whose lifestyle isn't suited for those cards. So in today's video, let's talk about some of the huge problems that might plague the new Amex Gold card, which I suspect we'll see a revamped version of this card later on this year. I would say that this first major problem comes from the outside, since there are excellent cards competing within this mid-tier travel credit card space. We all know about the Bilt MasterCard and how powerful that card is with its transfer partners, and it doesn't have an annual fee, and yes, it doesn't have an official welcome offer that'll give you thousands of points, but keep in mind that you also aren't guaranteed to be eligible for the welcome offer with the Amex Gold card, especially with the recent change that may make you ineligible to receive the welcome offer, but more on that a little later on in this video. And then there's the Chase trifecta setup with the Sapphire Preferred that only costs $95. And the only category you're really missing out on is that dedicated grocery store category. But even then, the Sapphire Preferred offers 3x back on online grocery shopping, which I'm personally not a fan of, but there are people who don't mind this. And the Freedom Flex usually offers 5x points at grocery stores for 1 quarter out of the year. And there's usually another quarter that offers 5x back at Target, which also sells groceries. Just keep in mind that these two categories can happen at the same time, which isn't great, but it does happen from time to time, or it can happen. And for my last point on this subtopic, we are about to get another credit card in the coming weeks that will enter into the mid-tier travel space from Wells Fargo. And based upon the rumored reward categories and the anticipated annual fee, the autograph journey seems to be targeting the Sapphire Preferred. And if Wells Fargo is truly targeting that Chase credit card, then the transfer partners should be very competitive. And if Wells Fargo can deliver on this, then the Gold card would be even less appealing. So as the competition continues to heat up, it'll be interesting to see the direction that American Express goes with a revamped Gold card. I think this may be the biggest problem for a few people out there, and is the fact that they might not be eligible to receive a welcome offer. We commonly refer to this as a sign-up bonus, but understand that it is an offer to receive reward points or cashback for those cashback reward credit cards once you meet the requirements, which is usually a minimum spend requirement within a set period of time. There are a couple of reasons why some people may not be eligible to receive a welcome offer, and I'll start off with the most controversial one that has left a bad taste in many people's mouths. American Express recently updated their terms and conditions toward the latter part of last year to basically state that those who currently hold the Platinum card, and yes, that includes the Charles Schwab and Morgan Stanley versions, may not be eligible to receive the welcome offer for the Amex Gold. And the biggest gripe about this is that this change came out of nowhere. However, we all kind of knew that Amex was up to something, because it seemed that just about everyone in this credit card community wasn't eligible to receive the elevated welcome offers on multiple American Express cards because they were placed into the infamous pop-up jail, and it didn't seem to matter if the product was a credit card or a charge card product. And that leads me to the second reason. Amex may simply determine that you are ineligible to receive the welcome offer due to your activity with American Express. Maybe you've opened too many credit cards in a short period of time, and Amex sees that they've already invested quite a bit in you and want to wait a few additional months before they're ready to extend another offer to you. Or maybe you've closed too many Amex cards and they now see you as a credit card churner, which can signal to them that it'll be pretty difficult to make a profit from you if they continue to extend lucrative welcome offers to you. With the absence of the ability to get a welcome offer, this Amex Gold card doesn't seem to be as appealing because it does come with a pretty hefty annual fee for a mid-tier travel card. And one can argue that it isn't worth it to open up any credit card with an annual fee that doesn't come with a welcome offer that can help to offset that annual fee for a couple of years, or at least the first year. And since we're talking about an annual fee, let's talk about the potential problem with that annual fee. A lot of us don't know if American Express is going to increase the annual fee for the Amex Gold card, but we are anticipating that increase because it seems to be inevitable at this point. We've seen annual fee increases on the Hilton Honors Aspire and Hilton Honors Surpass credit cards, the Delta Gold And the Amex Platinum card also received an annual fee increase a couple of years ago from an annual fee of $550 to its current annual fee of $695. And then we recently saw an increase to fees to add authorized users, jumping from a total of $175 for up to 3 additional cards to $195 per card. So at the very least, I would assume that American Express really wants to increase the annual fee on the Gold card, and I would speculate that it's taken this long for an annual fee increase to be implemented because, as I shared earlier, the competition within this space is pretty steep. And let's say, for instance, the annual fee is increased to anywhere between $300 to $350. Then the Amex Gold would pretty much be competing with the Venture X, but it doesn't offer any sort of lounge access, doesn't come with a TSA pre-check or global entry credit, and isn't as hassle-free as the Venture X since Amex still isn't nearly as widely accepted overseas as credit cards on the Visa network, such as the Venture X. I have a strong feeling that the annual fee is going to be north of $300, and I honestly think that increase will be a problem for the Amex Gold card. A lot of people, or maybe just me, myself, and I, which I guess that's still a lot of people, will have to really consider whether the Gold card is worth paying $300 or more every single year to hold the card. And for those of you who hold the Amex Platinum card as well, you're looking at a potential total of over $1,000 in annual fees just to hold 2 cards from American Express. I don't know about you, but I think that's a pretty penny to pay for credit cards. If Amex decides to increase the annual fee, then based on some of their previous moves, they'll probably introduce 1 or 2 additional statement credits to the card, or maybe even replace the current statement credits offered on the card in an attempt to make things better. But who knows? But what I do know is that these statement credits can be hit or miss, and I suspect that Amex would choose a statement credit that they think would complement the Gold card really well. Keep in mind that American Express does have the benefit of having access to the data of every single transaction, so they can understand the purchasing habits of their card members to determine which statement credits may be more useful. So I'm going to speculate that statement credits aren't going to go away. In fact, they seem to be here to stay. So I honestly believe that Amex will revamp the statement credits on the Gold card to help to offset and justify the potential increase in the annual fee. And just by the nature of it, some people will be disappointed by the statement credits because they typically aren't useful for everyone. For example, people who live in rural areas or out in the suburbs find it a bit difficult to use the Uber Eats credit or even the Grubhub credit, which is really flexible within urban areas. So if American Express does decide to add any statement credits, the potential problem could be that people who live in rural areas are once again alienated from having a statement credit that's relatively easy to use. However, speaking for myself, I don't have an appetite for any additional statement credits that require more effort to maximize the potential value that can be obtained from the card, which leads me to my other point, and that is statement credit burnout is a real phenomenon. This is when you have so many statement credits to track that you actually get sick of keeping track of them and eventually develop a huge distaste for statement credits and ultimately lead to the unavoidable decision to cancel said credit card that is the culprit of the statement credit burnout that you're experiencing in order to be cured and rehabilitated from this infectious phenomenon. And yes, I totally made that up, but you get my point. I hope. If you happen to be eligible to receive a welcome offer for those valuable membership reward points, which I've seen offers of up to 90,000 membership reward points so far for the Amex Gold card, and shameless plug here, my referral link is in the description section, and there are reports of people having success with finding the 90,000 membership reward point offer when using referral links, but you may have to try opening it in a private browser or refreshing the Amex webpage a few times or coming back to try the link a few hours later. Anywhoosies, back on topic, if you are eligible, then you have to contend with a relatively high minimum spend requirement. And Amex just recently increased its minimum spend requirement from $4,000 within the first 6 months of card membership to $6,000 within the same time period. That's an average monthly spend of $1,000, which isn't crazy. However, when we take a look at the credit cards from other issuers that occupy the same space, such as the Citi Premier and Sapphire Preferred, that minimum spend requirement is reduced to $4,000. In fact, now that I think of it, the Amex Gold has a higher minimum spend requirement than the Chase Sapphire Reserve and Capital One Venture X, which makes me think that the Amex Gold is beginning to venture into this territory where it's confused by its identity, and this can be amplified even more by a potential annual fee increase. From the information that I've seen, it seems that American Express is alone in its quest to make it more difficult for new cardholders to be able to obtain a welcome offer for multiple card products, and they're further eliminating the potential customer pool by, I want to say, aggressively increasing annual fees on its products, and at the same time not offering the highest welcome offers that have been available on some of those credit cards in the past. And I raise this point because if the annual fee increases on the Amex Gold card and the competition doesn't follow suit with increases on their current credit card offerings, then American Express as a whole might not be able to stand out any longer, or maybe they'll stand out for an unintentional reason, that being it is very expensive to hold those popular American Express cards. I know that is a pretty general statement, and I am pretty sure that American Express has all of the research to back up what they are doing with their credit card lineup. I'm just going to err on the side of being pretty skeptical with all of these changes coming in so swiftly and leaving a pretty bad taste in the mouth of a lot of the points and miles community. But if American Express is willing to make these changes, it makes me wonder if these changes can sustain a potential recession that we've been hearing is coming for like the past 3 years, and it still has not arrived to the United States. But you know what? Let's talk about a potential recession. I hate to mention this topic because it's so speculative at the moment, but there are a lot of signs out there that's pointing us in the direction of entering into a recession, and I think that this can pose a challenge for the gold card. Now, before anyone becomes alarmed, I'll state that right now, credit ratings agency Fitch has stated that it doesn't expect the economy to tip into a recession, but it does anticipate a continued pullback in discretionary spending. In addition to that, I recently read I believe it's Kiplinger letter that also backed this up and stated that in fact that they were wrong about their forecasting of the country moving into a recession, and that it seems that GDP has grown year over year, but what is more likely to happen is that it's going to slow down, and we'll see that inflation is going to slow down. However, the signs of the recession, the economists seem to be wrong about that over, I guess, the past few years. Now, according to the CNBC article that I'll link below, companies announced over 82,000 planned layoffs in January, and at the same time, the lowest planned hiring levels shown in data, which dates back to 2009. And although the US economy is still performing well at the moment, there are countries that have announced that they've entered into a recession. So as consumers themselves show a reduction in spending due to the crazy levels of inflation and the looming thought that a recession could happen, it makes me wonder how well would the Amex Gold card fare with an annual fee increase that's paired with a statement credit, which is dependent on the card member to spend money if more and more people are trying to spend less money and cut unnecessary costs. So is American Express truly making the right decision given the current climate? Time will tell. Assuming you don't have the Charles Schwab Platinum card or a bank account with Amex and the Amex Business Platinum card, then cashing out any of the reward points earned isn't going to make much sense because you won't be able to get a 1 cent per point. Instead, you get 0.6 cents per point as a cash redemption. And I know that we get these points to travel and not to redeem as cash back, but if there is a recession, then travel just might not be a top priority. At the end of the day, there are always costs associated with travel that'll fall outside of your point redemption for a hotel room and point redemption for an airline ticket. So I can see the gold card potentially not being as desirable if the general public shifts focus onto saving as much money as they can by holding off on expenses that really aren't necessary. And that may include travel that is subsidized with credit card points. In addition, point evaluation is a real occurrence. Airlines can require more points or miles to redeem an airline ticket. Hotels can and have done the same thing when it comes to redeeming points for a hotel stay. For example, 1 year ago, it cost 17,000 points per night to stay at my favorite Hyatt property in the Bahamas. That same property now costs 21,000 points per night for an off-peak stay. That is a 23% increase in the cost. In addition, other restrictions can be implemented, such as blackout dates and limiting availability on the room types that can be booked with points. For example, you may want a room with 2 queen beds for a family of 3 or 4, but if the only rooms you're able to redeem are king bedrooms, then using points for a particular hotel stay might not be an option, since those type rooms usually are only able to accommodate up to 2 guests. The Amex Gold card is a powerful card to having your credit card setup, as there is a ton of potential value that can be obtained from it. However, before you apply for the Gold card, make sure to watch this video next on the unfiltered truth of the Amex Gold card.